Tonight on Murrow News 8, an update on graduation.
Murrow News 8 starts right now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Kirsten Rosser.
And I'm Promise Calloway. Welcome back to Murrow News 8.
Just 30 minutes ago, WSU administrators went live to update the public on the state WSU operations. 6 different admin hosted the town hall to answer questions that were sent in, while some experts answered live questions in the comment section. Interim Provost Brian Slinker introduced a Wi-Fi hotspot service for students. Murrow News 8 confirmed that any student can apply for a free WSU Wi-Fi hotspot on the Provost website, meaning students that relied on campus Wi-Fi to complete work will now be able to access the same Wi-Fi remotely. Another hot topic was refunds. Refunds on sports passes, tuition, dining, housing, just to name a few. Jill Creighton of Student Affairs informed us that decisions regarding fees will be made by April 30th.
Washington State University will continue to keep classes online this summer. WSU President Kirk Schultz announced during his presentation to the Faculty Senate last night. Although summer classes remain online, WSU is hoping to return to in-person classes this fall. He also added that WSU is expected to lose about $13 million this spring in housing and dining fees. That will be refunded back to students. Schultz announced that WSU will also receive $21 million in the federal government's coronavirus stimulus package and assured that none of the relief money will go towards Cougar athletics.
Next, we have Asher Line live in Great Falls with a closer look on COVID-19 and its effects on Washingtonians. Asher?
Hey, Kirsten. So thanks to some WSU researchers, we now have a much better understanding of how vulnerable Washingtonians are to be infected with COVID-19. This map you see is from the Chase Lab at Washington State and shows the state of Washington and how susceptible each area is to the virus. The map was created by taking population density and several other factors into consideration, as well as populations of people 65 and older. Now you see the slider at the bottom of your screen and it's at 0 right now. This indicates which counties are at or above the given risk score, so everyone will be highlighted at 0. But now when you start to drag it up, you see some counties are not highlighted anymore, and you can see which counties and cities are at the highest risk. Right now, the lowest risk in the state is Richland with a score of 8 out of 100, and the highest risk city is currently Longview with a score of 75. Spokane and Pullman both have a high risk at the moment. Spokane sitting at 65, and Pullman is at 41 right now. So just remember social distancing rules, washing your hands frequently, etc. And unfortunately, they only have data for Washington State. So if you live in another state like me, I'm in Montana, you might not be able to find out exactly how vulnerable your area is. But if you are within the borders of the Evergreen State, you can use this map to determine the vulnerability risk of your area. Reporting from Great Falls, Montana, I'm Asher Line for Murrow News 8. Back to you, Promise.
Thanks, Asher. Unemployment processors are adding staff to try to keep up with the volume of calls and claims statewide. The Spokesman Review reports that policy analyst Marina Hernandez simplified and sped up the process by levying certain restrictions in light of the pandemic, such as actively seeking employment. There is also a separate benefit program, Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, which will be available to people that have lost their jobs because of COVID-19. The catch is the website is not yet up and running, but is aiming for an opening in about a week on the 18th.
Inmates who are in prison in the state of Washington for nonviolent offenses may be getting out sooner than planned as the state responds to the area outbreak of coronavirus. Governor Jay Inslee said that the Department of Corrections has not yet released those inmates because officials would have to reconsider procedures for early release. 6 inmates have already tested positive for COVID-19, and this has been the main drive behind the anger and fear these inmates have been feeling. Inslee says, quote, it involves creating an environment so that incarcerated individuals don't reoffend. The department wants to help those folks along that path.
The Community Action Center in Pullman is launching a new fundraiser campaign to help out local restaurants and those in need. The fund is called Pullman Serves It Forward, and they are collecting donations to pay for gift cards at local restaurants that will be distributed to those in need in the Pullman community. It looks like Pullman is experiencing some warmer weather. Caitlin, how long can we expect that?
Thanks, promise. Yes, Pullman is seeing warmer weather, and it looks like it will be sticking around. Sunny day today with a high of 68. A west wind in the afternoon could bring in gusts as high as 24 miles per hour. Tonight we'll see a low of 41 and an increase in clouds. Tomorrow, Saturday, will cool off with a high of 51. It will be partly sunny, but there is a 40% chance of showers, so be aware you may need a jacket. Saturday night will be clear, but with a very cool low of 23 degrees. Taking a look at the state as a whole, over on the west side, Olympia is looking mostly sunny with a high of 62 and a low of 41. Seattle looking similar, sunny with a high of 63, while central Washington is heating up. Yakima mostly sunny with a high of 76. Tri-Cities even warmer with a high of 78. Looking at eastern Washington, Spokane is sunny with a high of 71. All around, you can see the state is experiencing warmer weather. Moving on to the 5-day. Sunday will be sunny with a high of 50 degrees, clear night with a low of 25. Monday will continue to see sun with a high of 52 degrees, a low of 27 with partial clouds at night. Tuesday, the sun will continue shining with a high of 60, so slightly warmer than Monday. Tuesday night, low will be a bit warmer at 36 degrees. Wednesday will be mostly sunny, a high near 61, with a slight chance of rain, but only 20%. Wednesday night, we'll see an even warmer low of 40 degrees with partial clouds. That's all from me. Back to you, Kirsten.
Thanks, Caitlin. Now we have Luke Hudson with more happening in the world of sports.
Thanks, Kirsten. Now, Creme 2 News out of Spokane took a look at both Gonzaga basketball teams in a special that's airing again on Sunday, and it's also online as well. Now, parts of the piece focus on seniors, showing some of their favorite moments and interviews from features done on stars from the men's and women's teams. The first segment looks at some of the top 5 worthy moments each team had this season, and others focus on topics such as freshman Drew Timm and his famous handshakes. Some positive news related to COVID-19. Eastern Washington University head football coach Aaron Best is doing his part to help the university in the face of the virus. According to Creme 2 News, Best voluntarily reduced his salary by 10%. According to fiscal.wa.gov, which is a website that shows the salaries of every state employee in Washington, his salary in 2018 was $193,200. There isn't any data for 2019 or 2020 yet. Now, 10% of that would be $19,320. He told Creme 2 he is doing this, quote, to do my part for our university and athletic department, unquote. He also made it clear on Twitter that this pay cut was not because of any financial troubles the university is facing, and it's just to help out due to the financial burden the virus is placing on schools across the country. This year's Summer Olympic Games, were supposed to take place in Tokyo. They were already postponed to summer 2021, but now there are questions about whether that delay is long enough. Tokyo Organizing Committee CEO Toshiro Muto said at a remote news conference he cannot guarantee that the games will happen then. According to King 5 News, the Prime Minister of Japan, Shinzo Abe, has been criticized for an alleged slow response to COVID-19. Some political opposition leaders suggested that he wanted to keep the games in Japan and softened the seriousness of the virus to keep them there. Now that wraps up a quick bite of sports for the day. Back to you, Kirsten.
Thanks. Well, while everyone is social distancing, the residents of Sesame Street just can't be alone for much longer. So they're organizing a virtual play date. That's right, on Tuesday the 14th. You and your family can join Elmo, Cookie Monster, and their friends for a 30-minute special. And it's not just friends on Sesame Street. Hamilton creator Lin-Manuel Miranda, along with actress Anne Hathaway, will also stop by to say hello. That's all from us today here at Murrow News 8.
You can watch us live on YouTube every weekday at 5:30.
News content can still be found at nwpb.org/MN8, and don't forget to follow us on social media.
Have a good night, stay home, and stay healthy.
All right, give me a sec. I'm going to make sure that I can get this clipped for us. It happened. It streamed. We heard everybody.
Yay.
And yes, that is a standard that we're at right now.
No worries.
No worries.
All right. How's everybody feeling about it?
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah, it looks good. Just kind of watching it back right off the top, the only thing I noticed was it looked like it had a couple of empty black boxes. Was it that way at your end? Okay. Huh. Yeah, and I don't know if it was my streaming or what. I heard Kirsten talking, and then I didn't hear Promise, and then the open rolled. Is that?
I was on mute.
That's what I. Don't forget to take it off mute. So yes, okay. I was making sure. I had your internet connection is unstable warning partway through, and I go, I hope none of this is my issue. But the rest of it was pretty smooth. It streamed. A couple things I noticed just in terms of framing. I did notice there were a couple times where you could, when somebody's speaking and it highlights them in yellow, I felt like I could see parts of that yellow frame around Kirsten. Let's see. Promise had her lower third kind of cutting off her chin. And this is maybe more of a note for you, Promise. You guys have to pay attention to your framing. Same goes for Kirsten. Kirsten, I mean, you're really close right now, but you weren't much farther back during your broadcast, so you were kind of low in here. And we have to remember, normally as anchors, we kind of want to be here. I want to leave all this space. I still want people to see my neck. That lower third is going to go about right there. So always think about being in that position, not too close to your screen, because the closer you are, I mean, that lower third's here. So the reason I bring it up is because Caitlin was talking, the lower third goes up to about there, and we don't even see the bottom of her chin. And so be sure you have to manage your own framing. That's why, I mean, when the producer asks you to sit up to that good point, then make sure you stay there. A lot of people want to be close. We're at our computers. It doesn't feel like being at a news desk. So make sure that you manage your own framing. Asher, I thought that was a nice live shot. It was a good idea. I thought it was executed pretty well. If you can go back and watch that clip, you'll see it. It looked really nice. I mean, that's as professional as we can get it looking. So framing on Asher was good on that too. I know that's a skinnier frame for that live box, but if we can make that work, it's great. That's why I think we should, as we look forward here, find an opportunity to get somebody outside. If there is a live shot where we can get them out in their yard, hell, let's do a gardening moment. I don't care. But we can actually do vertical Facebook video for that. I mean, that is made for that, 2x1 vertical video size frame. So maybe that's Asher's next live shot. So we can utilize that in certain ways, and that was one way to do it. So I encourage everybody to go back and watch how that ended up coming across. I mean, we can do almost anything. You can put an anchor up in the top corner of the screen if you want to take up a full screen. All of these things are just a matter of scene building, and then once that scene is built, as those of you who've built all these newscasts have known, it turns out pretty simply. Let's see. I'll make sure we're being conversational. Promise, on the first nice day after a long winter, what's your reaction to that day?
Happiness.
Happiness. What would you say if you stepped outside and it was like 72 after it had only been 45 or less for like 5 months?
That it feels amazing.
With that much energy, it feels so amazing. So I want to make sure the conversationalness is your line was, it looks like Pullman is experiencing warmer weather. I want it to be more visceral, like finally we got a day where we can go outside. We don't need a jacket. It's awesome out there today. Caitlin, what do you have for us in weather? I want that real reaction for you. What would you really say if it was the first really nice day in a long time? So make sure that's why I always have issues with scripting like weather tosses and things. Weather is something we all have an opinion on, whether or not we think we do. You don't want to go outside if it's 9 degrees, and it might be too hot if it's 110, and in between there, we all have reactions to the weather. You can even get in debates about whether or not 80 degrees is warm. Some people think they want it even warmer than that. I'm one of those people. I like it really hot outside. So just have your own reaction to the weather, and maybe don't script those tosses as much. Caitlin, good weather. The only note I'd have for you is, and I brought this up just from day one of doing weathers, making sure, like reading the 5-day forecast and the state maps, that there's more than numbers. So the state map did a good job. Really nice across the state. And you can see there in central Washington, almost 80 degrees. That was good. When you got into the 5-day forecast, it's a nice day. We have spent the first minute of your weathercast talking about how nice it is in the state. Promise tossed to you saying nice warmer weather that we're having. What do you think's the first thing I saw on that 5-day forecast?
Oh, the rain.
Well, the rain and the fact that it's going to be 23 degrees tomorrow night, 24 degrees the night after that ain't nice. It's mid-April, and we all expect it to be a little bit nicer. So highlight that. So the way you kind of read that full screen was, we'll have a low of 25 degrees coming up on Saturday, and I go, man, point out the fact that okay, it's nice now. Now I know you see that 23 degree number. There is still time. It still is getting cold at night. Don't go planting your spring vegetables just yet. All that kind of stuff. I recognize that this is not normal, that we're dropping this low again. So make sure that you go beyond just reading the numbers going, yep, you saw that right, 23 degrees. And that's where we've researched things like our average lows. I don't know what the average low is this time of year. I'd guess it's probably upper 30s would be the average low in early to mid-April. But I'd have to look at some of those numbers. So if that's like 15 degrees below normal, then that's just a thing to point it out. Yep. Sports, I just wish we had more visual information. We had good information. I also wish we had more local information. Sports is tricky. One of the things local sports organizations are doing, local TV stations, are asking people to send in videos of things they're doing at home. Who knows? Maybe if you've got a sports job on the schedule coming up, ask people to send something in. Or if you see like a WSU athlete or football player do something interesting on social media or Twitter, or there's some challenge going around. And one of the challenges, Roger Federer, a tennis player, has put out a couple of challenges out there. Hell, throw some video about things like that. If we're not going to be able to stay hyper local, stretching out to Gonzaga is okay. Not to say there are Gonzaga fans in Pullman, but certainly a basketball team that we're close to and we follow that's always nationally relevant. Maybe we could have put a full screen. Here's how you watch it. It's coming up on this day. The special's on this day. So at least we're breaking away from just an anchor being in front of the screen. No offense to your good looks, Luke. For the producers of the newscast, one thing I mentioned this yesterday as we were putting it together. On OBS, you actually have an option for your transitions. You can add funky transitions and actually pieces of video that fly in and all that kind of stuff. Really, there are two standard ones: a fade and a cut. I think it looks better just to do cuts. You go straight from one scene to another. If you watch it back today, it'll kind of dissolve to the next image or the next anchor. I think we'll try to stick with cuts. That's a note that I had forgotten to mention. That is worth noting when you're putting your stuff together. Um, let's see. I think that's all the notes we had. Now, I know you ran into some issues right at the beginning. We did start the show. This sounds nitpicky, but we started it at like 12:32. The closest thing I have to being able to hold you guys to a deadline is trying to make sure that we can kick these off at the right time. So make sure we're still working our butts off to get right at that deadline. If we had a bunch of loyal viewers and we promised them a 12:32 newscast and they turn it on at 12:31, they're not going to stick around and wait for it to start. They're just going to think it's not happening. So those deadlines are still important. Not going to harp on you too much about that, but keep that in mind. Any other notes, Zach, as far as the execution of it? What did you think? Yeah, right. Yeah, I agree. Good show. Anchor reads were good. I think the thing that I saw that was kind of common was making sure you're managing your own framing in that shot. I know I brought it up, but helping out your anchor, that your producer, I should say. We don't have access to those cameras that turn nicely and follow you when you slightly move, so we got to manage that ourselves a little bit. Any other notes? No, cool. All right, Zach, my only note to you, last one would be if you have anything else to add to that kind of producer chain of emails about what things have helped, go ahead and do that. I know all of you are eventually going to do it, so I'm kind of relying on you guys paying attention a little bit to what the producers have said, so that even though I think Sophia might be the last person to actually have to produce this way, but she will have had all 12 of her classmates done it before. So I'm hoping you guys all learn from each other, and that is helpful. But as far as that's concerned, that's it. I made this announcement yesterday to our Tuesday, Thursday crew, but I kind of have a plan for next week. We'll talk a bit about a little more creativity that we can put in things like stand-ups. Kirsten, you did ask me, how do we do these stand-ups and not feel like we're shoehorning ourselves in, but still being creative. So I have some ideas. In fact, I found one great example of a stand-up in one of our packages that I thought could have been done a little more creatively. So I am going to do that stand up in a more creative way and kind of show you the difference and how you can take it to the next level. But don't really fundamentally change what you said in your stand up or anything like that. So I'll show you some examples I've kind of crowdsourced from professionals in the industry. We'll go over that on Monday. And then on Wednesday, my hope, and those of you who were here yesterday heard this, but I'm hoping to get Chip Mahaney back on with us. He was the recruiting guy for Scripps. I'm also working on getting a news director to join our chat on Wednesday, because I want to figure out a little bit about what the job market looks like this summer and beyond, and kind of what some industry professionals are forecasting, and also just local news managers, how specifically they're handling some of these things. These are the people who are hiring you in markets that you might be able to work at in the next year. And so I want to see what they're saying, because I don't even know, what the forecasts are. But I figure that's good information for you guys. So I don't think anybody's really missed, but be there Wednesday, especially, and we'll see if we can't get some answers. Bring your questions, because I hope some of you are curious about your futures and careers in this business. And it's an uncertain time. I don't envy you, certainly, but maybe they can help you find ways to kind of stand out and make connections and find a way in. That's kind of the goal anyway. And during this time, it's especially important. So anyway, it's almost 1:00. Enjoy your weekends. And think about those capstones, and I'll take a look at the submissions you've had, and just have a good weekend. Get some relaxation in.
Wait, Asher, really quick. Do we have media ethics today?
I haven't
That's
seen
a
an
good
email.
question.
I haven't seen an email from him.
We didn't send one for this week. I don't
The
think we
only-
sent all this week.
The only emails that I've seen from him were for his office hours, and that was
Okay.
on Monday, I think.
Tuesday or something. Yeah. Okay, cool. Just making sure because he doesn't email us anything.
No.
Yeah, he has an email.